Gerald Rudolph Ford Jr., born on July 14, 1913, in Omaha, Nebraska, became the 38th President of the United States, serving from 1974 to 1977. His presidency was marked by his rise to power through unprecedented circumstances after the resignation of President Richard Nixon and his efforts to restore trust in the government following the Watergate scandal. Ford's leadership style and legacy are defined by his integrity, humility, and his role in navigating a country in political turmoil. Ford was born to Dorothy Eyre and Gerald Ford Sr. His father, an advertising executive, left the family when Ford was an infant, and he was raised by his mother in Michigan. Ford graduated from the University of Michigan in 1935 with a degree in economics. A skilled athlete, Ford was a star football player for the Michigan Wolverines, where he earned national recognition. Ford was later offered professional football contracts, but chose to pursue a law career instead. He attended Yale Law School, graduating in 1941. Afterward, Ford worked as an attorney in Grand Rapids, Michigan. His legal career was briefly interrupted by World War II, during which he served as a lieutenant commander in the U.S. Navy, earning several decorations, including the Bronze Star. Ford's political career began in 1948 when he was elected to the U.S. House of Representatives from Michigan's 5th District. Ford was known for his bipartisan approach and moderate stance, which made him a respected figure within Congress. He served in the House for 25 years, becoming the Republican Party's leader in the House of Representatives in 1965. Ford's reputation as a straight shooter, someone who avoided scandal and built relationships across party lines, made him a respected figure in Washington. His leadership as the Republican minority leader was marked by his pragmatic approach to issues like civil rights and foreign policy. Ford's life would take an unexpected turn in 1973 when Vice President Spiro T. Agnew resigned following charges of tax evasion and bribery. President Nixon, facing increasing pressure due to the Watergate scandal, selected Ford to succeed Agnew as vice president. Ford, then the House Minority Leader, was confirmed with little opposition. Ford's appointment was seen as an attempt to stabilize Nixon's administration as it faced mounting controversies. Ford's tenure as vice president lasted less than a year. However, it was during this brief period that he witnessed firsthand the unraveling of Nixon's presidency. In the wake of the Watergate break-in and the subsequent cover-up, public confidence in the government had eroded dramatically. In August 1974, amid the Watergate scandal and mounting political pressure, President Nixon became the first U.S. president to resign from office. Ford, as vice president, ascended to the presidency on August 9, 1974. He became the only president in U.S. history to assume office without being elected to either the presidency or vice presidency. Upon taking office, Ford faced the daunting task of healing a divided nation. His first major decision was one that would define his presidency. On September 8, 1974, he pardoned Richard Nixon for any crimes he may have committed while in office. Ford explained that his decision was aimed at putting the Watergate scandal behind the nation and allowing the country to move forward. The pardon was deeply controversial and damaged Ford's public standing, leading to widespread criticism. Many believed that the pardon was a politically motivated act to spare Nixon from prosecution, and it contributed to Ford's narrow loss in the 1976 election. Despite the backlash, Ford remained steadfast in his belief that the pardon was necessary for national reconciliation. His administration focused on restoring confidence in the executive branch and re-establishing integrity in the federal government. Ford inherited a nation mired in economic stagnation and rising inflation, a period often referred to as stagflation. His administration focused on controlling inflation and addressing the energy crisis. Ford implemented policies aimed at reducing government spending and cutting taxes to stimulate the economy. However, his economic programs met with limited success, and the country continued to struggle with high unemployment and inflation throughout his presidency. Ford also faced ongoing challenges in foreign policy. His tenure was shaped by the continuing Cold War, the fall of Saigon in 1975, and the eventual collapse of South Vietnam. Ford sought to manage the consequences of the Vietnam War by overseeing the final evacuations of American personnel and Vietnamese refugees as the Communist North Vietnam took control of the South. Ford's foreign policy accomplishments included the signing of the Helsinki Accords in 1975, an agreement between 35 nations that sought to improve relations between the Eastern and Western blocs. The accords helped reduce tensions between the Soviet Union and the West, although their long-term impact would not be fully realized until the end of the Cold War. Ford's presidency was challenged by his unpopularity following the Nixon pardon and the ongoing economic difficulties. In the 1976 Republican National Convention, Ford narrowly defeated Ronald Reagan for the Republican nomination. The general election against Democrat Jimmy Carter was a fierce contest. Ford's efforts to maintain his image as a leader of integrity were overshadowed by his opponent's outsider status and promise of change. Ford lost the election by a slim margin. Carter's victory was in many ways a reaction to the disillusionment caused by Watergate, and many Americans sought a fresh start after years of political turmoil. After leaving office, Ford returned to his home in California, where he remained active in public life. He established a reputation as a respected elder statesman and maintained strong relationships with both Republicans and Democrats. Ford supported a number of philanthropic causes and in his later years became a prominent voice advocating for national unity and bipartisanship. He died on December 26, 2006, at the age of 93. Ford's legacy is one of service and integrity, with a presidency that sought to heal a nation in crisis. While his decision to pardon Nixon remains contentious, his leadership in an era of political upheaval is widely regarded as a stabilizing force in American history. Gerald Ford's time in office was brief but consequential, and his contributions to American politics continue to be studied and debated.